Mayor, you're live.
Okay, good morning. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
I can't hear myself there, but if I'm projecting, it's okay. Welcome to the Monday, December 6, 2021 Board of Public Works and Safety. Clerk, may we have a roll call?
Yes. Eaglin? Here. Courtney?
Here.
Carlo?
Here.
Board, you've had an opportunity to review the minutes from the November 15th meeting. So we'll have a motion to approve those minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. All right, moving through, no adjustments, unfinished business, new business. We have quite a few approvals for PACE, so I'll introduce our Director of Building and Planning, Nicole Schell, and go through the PACE program.
Good morning, just get my PowerPoint up here for you. First, I have a PACE amendment for 707 East Main Street. Or do you want me to do the applications first?
What's on the agenda first is the PACE applications. If we just follow through the agenda,
Yep.
that'd be great. Thanks.
Okay, first application is for Marcus Gray at 124 East Street. His request is for $25,000. He's going to be doing partial demo, foundation repair, rebuild, and working on windows, door siding.
This property is out of the floodplain, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Cole, as we go through these, I don't know if this is on your agenda, but identify the amount of the grant that's being requested. that you
Yep, I said
recommend.
that, 25,000.
Oh, you did? Okay.
The second application is Georgia Hall, 506 Jefferson Street. She's requesting $5,045. She's going to be doing tuck pointing and paint on the structure.
Is that the entire structure, or just the front, is that everything?
It's the entire
The entire.
structure, yeah. So she just owns that half.
She was receiving water damage on the inside. It's coming down off of the soffit area and through the brick.
Nicole, can we back up to the first, the East Street? You say there's demolition?
Yes, partial demo. So this is a Camelback shotgun. They're going to be removing the front single-story portion and then rebuilding it.
Okay, they all gonna rebuild.
Yes.
Okay.
So our grant program as it relates to demolition does have the requirement that they provide a plan for reconstruction. And this plan's already been through historic board, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
The third application is for 707 Walnut Street, Scott Axline. This is the first applying for the dangerous buildings grant. It has been deemed unsafe by our building inspector, so he will be taking the entire structure down with the plans to rebuild a new structure in the next year.
Do you have the other interior pictures that was presented
Not on
to?
this slide. I put this
They're
one
probably
on.
in the, okay, so you have it in
Yeah,
the
you
board
have it in
packet.
your packet. This one shows the roof has collapsed inside. He's asking for $5,750.
If you look at some of the images that we have that's not up there, it's amazing it's still standing, honestly.
The pictures, I guess when you drive by and look at it, it don't look that bad on the outside,
No.
but the inside, looks
Inside,
like
if you
it's gone.
went through it and you looked at the house or look at the roof is actually buckling inside and could collapse.
Yeah,
Now, is there a partial basement or any basement under that?
Yes,
Scott says yes. He's been in it. I
Probably a
have
cellar,
not.
probably a cellar.
it's a very small area in the very center of it. It's not
Just a
very
little
big.
utility, just a little utility, but furnace area or
probably a 10 by 10 little cellar. It's creek rock falling in.
Has the replacement structure been approved?
It has not, he's working through the designs now, and that will be, reviewed by the historic board. And then last application is 812 Walnut Street, Cynthia Stewart. She's requesting $25,000. She's also doing a slight demo, rebuild, repairs to this masonry building. And you have more photos in your copy of this one also.
Yeah, again, at the PACE meeting the other night, there were a lot of pictures that you have in your book here that represent the deterioration of this building that you really can't see from the front street elevation, and definitely the interior as well, and what condition it's in. So it's all of these projects, in my opinion, are 3 of them are in our targeted revitalization area, which is great, and they'll go a long way to improving the neighborhood.
A lot of improvements on Walnut Street in that area, so it's good to see. I make a motion that we approve the PACE applications for 124 East, 506 Jefferson Street, 707 Walnut, and 812 Walnut.
I'll second that motion.
Or is there any additional discussion? Any comments or questions from anyone in the audience? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Thanks, Nicole.
Next on your agenda, I believe, is the PACE amendment, for 707 East Main Street, Phil Mullins. You have a letter outlining, the reasoning why he's wanting an amendment, but it's not changing his grant dollar amount. He's just asking for a change, on where they're allocated. Originally, he had, funds allocated towards his retaining wall. He's still working with NDOT on having that repaired, so he's asked that money be switched to, windows, shutters, box gutters, and painting.
So there is a chance that retaining wall will be taken care of by the state.
He is working with him on,
Okay.
And it's a wall that his fence sits on.
Yeah.
Yes.
His iron
Mhm.
fence sits on.
It's kind of deteriorated and
He's working on that with his contract.
This meets the guidelines of the PACE.
burn amendment, yes. Yeah, it was reviewed and approved by PACE, committee at their last meeting, and then it comes to you for final approval.
Dollar amount isn't changing at all here, it's just a reallocation of the work.
Correct.
Okay.
I make a motion we accept the PACE amendment for 707 East Main.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? Questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thanks.
I have 3 finals for you. The first is 522 Mulberry Street, Richard and Michelle Peak. They are requesting the final payment of $11,825. They worked on the structure on the corner, really everything from tuck pointing to painting to some work around that side porch and on the rear. But they've done a great job on that, and it is completed according to their PACE grant.
How long did it set, do you know, between the fire and when it was, the rehab started on it? Pretty a while,
I think it's been
Several years.
several years, if not longer than a
Yeah,
decade.
I remember fighting the fire, but it's been a long time ago.
I think they did some minor work after the fire, but it's been empty for the most part.
So this project and the next one on West First Street, drive by both of those. They both projects look fantastic. Definitely an improvement to the neighborhood, to the community.
The next final I have for you is 707 East Main Street, Phil Mullins, for the full grant amount of $7,500. As mentioned, he's worked on exterior painting, his box gutters, windows, shutters, and doors. But you can see the wall there. But it's completed according to his base grant with your approved amendment.
It's a beautiful home. Yeah.
Next, final is for Jim Pruitt, 205 West First Street, for the full amount of $7,500. He's done a ton of work on this property. Everything from siding, painting, windows, and has worked on the porches.
So that whole block, in my opinion, is experiencing a bit of renaissance,
It is.
all the way from Poplar over to Central. So it's great to see all the investment that's happening there.
Well, even going west in that neighborhood, there's
Yeah.
been a lot of fix up and.
Yeah.
One currently under renovation.
Right. Yeah, that shotgun house that literally they had to lift up off of the put a new foundation on. A lot of work being done.
The empty lot, Michelle, Nicole, is there something going in there?
I have heard that the owners are working on plans for a home, but we have not seen anything at the office.
I just noticed it was kind of roped off. It looked like maybe there was gonna be some groundwork going on, so.
Yeah, we don't have any permits filed yet, but I've heard that they are working through plans.
In the very near future, that whole block will have river views. Yeah, that's because of the work that's being done near the riverfront behind those properties is going to be
The tree line.
great. Yeah.
That's added value. I make a motion to approve the finals, 522 Mulberry, 707 East Main, and 205 West First Street.
I'll second that motion.
Any additional discussion? Any comments, questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nicole, I just want to thank you for all of the work that's been done on PACE. And 2021 was a record year for a number of properties that have taken advantage of the program, the amount of match money that's been provided, but more importantly, almost 4-to-1 private investment to the match that's been provided relative to private investment to preserve these properties across not only downtown, but we had our first completed property on the hilltop too, Mr. Cream's former house on Wilson Avenue. So program's going great, and we just approved another, around 50 or 60,000
Yes.
here, and the goal for next year is to just continue to help support the community and their investment in our neighborhoods.
I think it's amazing when you, like you said, down there on First Street, between Central and Poplar. I mean, eventually, probably within the next year, that whole block's gonna be
Brand new.
renovated.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're literally just taking the blocks and seeing the improvements.
Yep, and we're already taking applications for next year. Today is the deadline for their January meeting, so we're looking forward to the improvements next year.
We are seeking, 3 board members for PACE because of turnover. Approximately
2 to 3, yeah.
2 to 3 board members. So if there's anybody out in the community that would like to volunteer, PACE is an excellent one that you can truly see remarkable results because of this program.
Nicole, I'd like to ask, is there any update on I'm not sure the address, but the house kind of on the corner of Second and Harrison that
I
we
believe-
approved?
Been by there lately?
They're down there working right now. Definitely go by
Okay.
there. But yeah, they're working
We
hard.
did a culvert vegetation remediation a couple weeks ago in that area. There's a historic stone culvert that goes adjacent to the property. And they are there, they've already mobilized the site, they're reframing the rear end of the property that had been, or the north side of the property that had been deteriorated. So there is active work going on there now.
Great.
Across the street, there was some activity, it looked like somebody taking out a lamp post at Harrison Second this morning. Did you know anything?
Don't know anything about that.
Okay, there's a highway crew there, and saw Travis Conover was there, I don't know if there's,
Yeah, that part of
Is it
Harrison
NDOT?
is
Not
in
sure.
that project,
Yeah.
so not sure.
but yeah, I was over, this last 2 weeks, the cleanup around this property has just been tremendous. The whole back end of it was brand new, and, good job. You said what happened.
Thank
So,
you.
Thanks, Nicole.
Nicole, I might ask you, I know on the next item on the agenda is unsafe structure at 1202 Wells Drive. May ask Scott and you to give an overview to the board on why we're here today, and I know the property owner is here and we can introduce her, but if you could give an overview about the property to the board and we'll get into discussion.
Sure. So this property caught fire at the beginning of this year.
December 19th.
End of last year,
Okay.
corrected by the property owner, she would know. We've sent a couple of unsafe building letters to her, first being October 26th. We also had issued in the past a nuisance violation letter for the debris on the outside that was cleaned up through the city's contractor. And then we asked her to appear at this meeting just because we had not had any contact with her about the unsafe structure and its demo.
Okay, do you have a chronology? I mean, since the fire was in, did you say December 2019?
Yes. it was
A
December
chronology
19th.
of notifications we had given the property owner and what they were for and what the response was and why we're here today?
Sure. Yeah. So fire in December 19th. Our first letter went to her in July of this year, citing the nuisance issues of the debris on the exterior that had not been cleaned up. That debris was not taken care of by the owner, so we dispatched at the end of July the city's contractor who did clean it up. And then the first unsafe building letter went to her in October 26th to be exact, with the second unsafe building letter asking her to appear here, went out in November 22nd.
Okay. And was the property owner notified of what it cost and were they asked to reimburse the city for the cleanup from the?
Yes.
Okay, and what was that? What was that amount? Do you know?
I can find out for you. Give
Okay.
me a second.
So what you're describing here, just to kind of set the stage, is unfortunate fire. Then the property was not cleaned up, so we cited her for a nuisance violation. Nuisance violation was disregarded. The city dispatched at its own expense a crew to abate the nuisance. Property owner did not reimburse the city for the cost of the abatement. Is that correct?
Let me find out because I'm
Okay.
not sure.
The property sat there without a remediation plan. You're saying then in October, we notified them of it, that it is an unsafe residential structure per city ordinance and state statute. That went disregarded?
Yes.
And then another letter was sent in November, that then reiterated the earlier letter and asked her to appear here today?
Yes.
Okay. See if I can find the letters. Board, I think each of you have a image of the property in question at 1202 Wells Drive. Okay, I've got that.
Okay.
Trying to get my paperwork over here now.
So in your correspondence to the owner of the property, you've not received any feedback?
Well,
No.
that's
From
also
the-
because.
Okay, let's go ahead and invite the owner up to the property. Please identify yourself, name, address, and for the board.
My name is Bonnie Cox. My address is 1156 Debbie Lane, which Nicole had, and I have been getting notices at 1202 Wells Drive, which don't always come to me because the mail sometimes gets taken. And that's why I haven't responded, but I did clean up the property a couple times, and also the demolition will be taking place in the next 2 weeks. Where the property, I'm getting a dumpster delivered today and having a track hoe delivered a week from Friday, and have someone that is going to run it and finish the demolition for me. As far as I know, the city might have mowed once, but that's it. I have done all the cleanup. I have had dumpsters up there 3 different times.
Well, I appreciate you being here today. Can I call you Bonnie?
Yes.
I appreciate you being here today, because what we want to do is find a good solution here,
Right.
relative to abating the unsafe structure and certainly, eliminating blight. It's a beautiful neighborhood, and that's how we want to keep it. And with this structure, in the condition that it's in,
It definitely needs to come down. And I would have also been working on it, but I was also under the impression that I was in the running for a PACE grant, which kind of in September was told after I had applied a couple times and said, oh, come, we're gonna roll on this, and then, well, you need more paperwork, and I got no feedback from Nicole, whatsoever. So I just decided I wasn't going to use city funds, I would use my own funds. And then I had to get a mortgage on my property, which, since all my stuff burned up, I was married in Ohio, I had to get my marriage license to get different things. It's just been a big nightmare, but it will be cleaned up within the next 30 days. The house will be down, it will be gone.
okay, well, we certainly appreciate that. So you have a contractor that you've indicated you've already agreed on terms with for the demolition of the property, and you're saying that'll be done by the end of the
Yes.
month?
Yes, it will
Okay.
be done in the next month. I'm hoping in the next 2 weeks, but I'm going to give myself a month just because of weather.
Do you think you will rebuild there once all the cleanup? Yeah.
Eventually, yes, but not probably for a couple of years.
So you're just gonna put it back to a buildable lot?
Well, I'm going to seal the basement off because the basement is,
Oh, that's right.
and I'm gonna seal the basement off and then eventually probably set, a house on top of the existing structure. And I'll probably use the basement for storage, but I gotta get it, garage doors up and get get everything coated and sealed where it can't leak and won't be a further nuisance.
Okay. Well, we certainly appreciate that. And we can give you time to the end of the month to take care of what you've just indicated you would,
Right.
which is the demolition of the property. And please keep us informed along the progress. If your plans change, if timing changes, communication is really important. I think that's kind of sort of why we're here today and
That's
asking
fine.
you to appear for us, is so that we could
Yeah.
accelerate some progress, Bonnie, on the property.
Okay.
Is there anything else, board, any questions you have? Scott, Nicole, anything else we should add? Joe, anything else we should consider?
Just curious, do your tax statements for that property go to that property, or do they go to you?
No, they go to 1156 Debbie Lane, and also when I applied for the PACE grant, I had the 1156 address, also my phone number's on there.
Because the notifications would generally go to the
Address,
address on record.
yeah, and the address on record is 1156 Debbie Lane. I have been living there since June. Before that, it was down here on 2nd Street. I rented an apartment for 4 months, but, yeah.
Okay.
So, any notification in the future should go to 1156 Debbie Lane. I live right behind the property. And I don't want that in my front yard either.
If I might clarify, you've indicated that the property is at 1202 Wells Drive,
Right,
but you live at 1156 Debbie Lane, which is that behind
yes,
this
it's
property?
directly
Comes
behind
back
it.
But I thought you also might have just mentioned you're renting an apartment. Is
No,
that
no, that was for 4 months,
Oh, 4 months, okay.
yeah. Because I had to move my room.
Gotcha.
I appreciate the fact that you've got a plan in place.
Yes,
So, and like the mayor said, if you just keep us informed of any changes,
yeah. As
so,
far as I know, that's set, the contractor that I have, that is out of Bedford, Kentucky, told me that he would not be available until a week from this Friday. which I've looked at the weather reports, it's supposed to rain. So I'm just kind of playing it by ear there, I guess. But that's the plan, and I'm waiting now on a dumpster.
Debbie, Bonnie, we have one more meeting this year, 2 weeks from today. And normally on our agendas, we'll have just recurring businesses that we'll talk about. If we
I
could,
could come and give you progress at that meeting, that would be
Bonnie,
fine.
that would be wonderful. Be nice of you to do.
Okay, can you tell me the time and?
It's 11:30 a.m. like today, Monday, December 20th.
Monday?
2 weeks, exactly 2 weeks from today.
All right, thank you.
And I look forward to the progress. Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you, Val.
Okay. Next up is our retiring, I should say, steward of everything tree related in Madison, Kathy Rohlfing.
It's
Good
been
morning.
25 years, so.
Well, so let's make it 50 years.
There you go.
You're still young.
Yeah. I'm here today to discuss some street tree plantings, or just actually one planting that involves 5 trees. It's at the corner, and I'm gonna hand it up to you so you can kind of get a feel. That's plan view, so you're looking down, you see Jefferson Street there. You see the little people store there. So there's that. And then I also wanted to kind of give you just an idea of what we're trying to do there. You can see that we've got 3 trees that would be large shade trees. You know, that's just a concrete, you know, lake there.
Now, this is between Main and Second.
This is at the corner of Jefferson Street, right there by Little People's. Yes.
Little People's.
Yeah.
Down
And
to the
so
alley.
that sidewalk that goes to the alley, and we would, so, okay, here we go, okay, so this is the front, this is where the sidewalk on Main Street's
Right.
there. So we would be starting here, which is at the end, basically, of Little People, or that huge building, all that, and these are the little sidewalk. I measured them all just so I knew exactly what we had, and then it would stop up here. And these are 15-foot, so there would be, you know, we feel like we have plenty of room there for trees. And where there's a T, that's a tree, and the small T's are like 2 small ornamental flowering trees. And just so that you can see, probably not exactly the scale, but just some little bit. There will be some concrete work that would have to be done, but you know, you're getting it's going to look really good when it happens. You know, I don't know if this is the best timing in the world for this, but that's you know that's what I would want to hear from you guys, if you think you know, you guys can give me some feedback on this. Any questions do you have?
What type of tree is it you're proposing again, and maybe talk about, because I know the issue we always have with, we love our trees and the canopies that they provide. They also create some sidewalk damage, so maybe talk about what we discussed during the tree board meeting when I attended, of
Like the
methods you take
the root
in order to.
barrier and.
Yeah.
Okay, we are going to use these elm trees, Triumph elm trees. They'll be shade trees, no berries, no nuts. It's not easy to do, you know, to come up with that. And I promised no berries for Rhonda, because she just doesn't
We
have
have
the tree in front
visitor
of her
parking
place.
there too.
So we tried making it good for everybody there. As far, I mean, you know, some trees are really bad about sending their roots everywhere. Elm trees, not so much, but we could definitely do those root barriers, which would go down between, like, this planting place will be right on a curve, and then we would take the barrier, it goes down into the ground, and as the trees run into it, they'll go a different direction. And so Tim's been doing that, and he's had pretty good, he's doing pretty well with that.
So that should eliminate damage to sidewalks.
Pardon?
That should eliminate damage to the
It
sidewalks.
should, yes, of course, you never know, just
Right,
like
yeah, sure,
everything,
just
but,
like everything.
yeah, it's one of the easiest and one of the, there are lots of different things you can do, some of them are very complex, but I think this will work well. Tim has been doing it for quite a while now.
So that's a pretty deep curve along that section of Jefferson Street, so.
Now, what do you mean by deep?
High
Well, it's a
curve.
high curve.
Oh, a high curve,
High curve.
okay. Yeah, I don't see how that would be an issue. You know, you can get those tree barriers or the root barriers about this. They come all sorts of sizes. But what do you think would be an issue with the high curve? Anything?
So you think the concrete's what, 18 inches, 24 inches deep there?
Well, it's sloping, so it's gonna be taller at the Main Street part and probably gets a little
Yeah.
lower as you go down. I like the idea because the canopy through there will certainly break up all
Oh,
of those
yes.
hard surfaces we have.
So much, so many bricks.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of brick there.
And, you know, and we have been talking about this for a couple of years, just trying to, you know, what do we want to do here? And, you know, typically we just, you know, plant trees here, maybe 2 or 3 there, you know, almost always sidewalk trees. So this one was, every once in a while, we like to do something that's kind of a project.
Do we know there aren't any utilities in the area that you're proposing to build?
Let me show you on here. Okay, there's a water meter in that one. And then this is a real small sign. So you can see that I've avoided those, and it's not symmetrical.
That's that sign is just a handicap parking sign.
That one up here is,
Yeah.
that's handicapped.
Light.
Would this work be done by city employees or would it be?
Yeah, just like Tim always does.
So we, through our budget every year, fund money to the tree board, and they do a lot of planning throughout the community on planting new trees, but also maintenance on existing trees. Sometimes it's tree removal that involves. That's part of our budgeting process. I know we have our utility superintendent, street superintendent's here. And he's probably already looking at water lines or whatever that might be up
Yeah,
to the
there
side.
shouldn't be any issue. We have the water lines in the middle of Jefferson, and then there's a fire hydrant there at the corner. But I'm assuming you're gonna be south of that.
Yeah, north of that.
The fire hydrant's right here. Here's Jefferson, here's the courthouse, here's the building.
Oh, okay, I was thinking that, I think there's one down there too. All right, yeah, I'm glad that, it's good to hear before than after.
Yes, yeah.
And Tony, do you have any thoughts, guidance on this?
The thing I worry about is how close to the curb are you gonna be cutting?
Right now, these are about 4'6". These are the actual squares of concrete. That's just how I kept knowing where I was. So they will be right, what was your question, right at the curb or how deep they'll be?
Yeah, I mean,
Far away from the curb.
how far away from the curb where it drops down are you gonna be cutting? Like, the problem is that you just leave 2 or 3 inches, those roots are probably gonna
Okay,
knock
and
it out.
so you need to go to Tim with that,
Okay.
just because, I mean, we know about that stuff, but you don't wanna get information.
All right, I'll get with you on that.
All right, that's
Thank you.
great. Any other questions?
I think you gave a report to council about all the tree plantings and work you've done across the community. Again, I want to thank you for your 25 years of service to the tree board. I'm sorry to see you go. I've already invited you to join another board. I haven't heard back from you, Kathy.
I'm waiting.
Can I go ahead and get a yes from you on that
No,
right
it'll
now?
probably be a couple months.
You're trying to
before
take some
you-
time off is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, we really appreciate all the work you've done, but share with Dave and Carl perhaps what work the tree board has done.
Let's see, like some of the projects that we've done, the parking lot on Main Street, we planted those trees there. We got that looking good. That was, I don't know, probably 12, 15 years ago. And then down here on Second Street, we put those trees in there.
Second Jefferson Street parking lot really looks nice. I don't know who.
Oh, that's that was there was a garden club.
Garden
Yeah,
club. They
The
did
garden club,
plantings and all
yes.
that.
And they did wonderful. They did all sorts of different species, and I have a list of what's what there. So yeah, they did
I
that.
recall from your report there was over 500 tree plantings.
Yes,
that you involved in.
we keep track of how many, and most of them are just a maple tree here, or if it's a small space, it's a dogwood here, and I walk my dog every day, so I'm looking for places where we need trees and.
Or he needs a tree or she needs a
Yes.
tree.
Oh, and just recently we started taking these. They're plastic guards, and they wrap around the bottom of the tree, so there's not lawnmower problems and things like that. So that should help us a lot, because typically that's what makes we have more trees die from that, when the bark is all the way gone. So that's working out real well. And like I said, and also parks. We are now doing the parks as well. And sometimes in the parks we'll plant trees that we wouldn't want to plant on the street, because it would be a problem. It would have nuts or things like that. So it's always fun to do some stuff in the parks and do some different trees. And just other than that, all downtown is our jurisdiction. So and also all the parks on the hilltop we do too. But we take it seriously, and we have a good time. And it's just really fun to see, when they're growing up and remember and think about no shade going to something beautiful.
And Madison is a tree city.
Yes,
We have a tree city designation,
Mhm.
which we need to continue to foster our investment in trees in order to maintain that designation. So I think you guys have done a great job.
Thank you.
We just ask that, as you indicated, perhaps Tim coordinate with Tony on the exact location where they would be good. But I'll move that we approve the tree planting plan as Kathy has presented on behalf of the City of Madison Tree Board.
Second the mayor's motion.
Any additional discussion?
I just asked Kathy, how much input do you have on tree removal? Or is that something that Tim takes care of?
Well, we every once in a while, it used to be we got a lot of people wanting trees down, and it really hasn't happened that much lately. But we tell them, somebody calls us, we say, well, we'd like you to come to the tree board, and we'll talk about it, and you can tell us what you think. And we talk to those people, and then we'll have a vote, and among the tree board members. And typically, if the tree is dangerous, well, the first thing we do is ask Tim if it's dangerous. If it's dangerous, Tim takes care of it. He makes the decision there, because that's not what we should be doing. If the tree is not dangerous, then some people just they don't like leaves. So we don't we're pretty hard about cutting trees down. So we don't do it very often. I know what it was. The other day there was a family, and they bought a tree on Second Street, and they didn't like this tree that was in front of them. It's a ash tree actually, and it's still alive, and it looks beautiful, and they were just, we don't want that. That's not what we want our house to look like it. And so we talked, and finally somebody suggested, well, what if Tim just prunes it up a little bit and sees what you think? And Tim went the next day, pruned it up, and they were like, oh my gosh, that's a beautiful tree. So every once in a while, you have a real
Good
real
outcome.
winner.
Good solution there. Yeah.
Anything else on taking trees down, or? And of course, this is only in the street tree property, not personal
Right.
property.
Right. Any comments or questions from anybody in the audience?
I think it's a good project. I think it'll add a lot to Jefferson Street. So.
I think so too, yes. A lot of, you can get some benches on
Yep.
there.
Have you talked to the business owners?
I did, I talked to Rhonda, because really that's her whole building, I'm pretty sure. And we talked, and she listened, and she goes, no, you could do that, just no berries, so.
Will there be a tree, while we're still in discussion on the motion and second, there's also a restaurant down there. Is it?
No, it stops
It's north of
before
that? Okay, good, okay. We have a motion and a second, any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you for bringing this to the board too, I
Mhm.
appreciate it. I know that probably was a little change in process for you, but, it does help us with the planning, the communication, and also this community know what you're doing.
Yeah,
They
you're
get
right.
excited about it.
It was it's been
Thank you for
interesting.
your 25 years.
Pardon?
Thank you
Oh,
for
you're
your
welcome.
25 years.
Yeah, and when you've been doing this for 25 years, it's always good to kind of have to do something different anyway, so that's good. All right, thank
I
you.
look forward to hearing back from you on that other thing.
Okay.
No pressure.
No
No
pressure
pressure.
there.
All right, Nicole, I'm gonna talk about Blight Elimination, Crystal Beach updates. And she provided a report you should
I
have.
believe just you received it, cause
What's
we're,
that?
unless Tammy made a copy.
Okay.
Y'all got
Yeah,
it?
we all have it.
Okay, cool. Just giving an update on where we're at for nuisance and unsafe structures. In this year, we've had 77 nuisance citations. 15 of those were abated by the city. 4 are still in the process of their deadlines for completion. John Shuring goes out after those deadlines to see whether they were done or not. If they're not done, then he'll dispatch the city crew. We have a contractor that we use who does that work. And then 58 were abated by the owner before the deadlines, which is good.
That's great.
On unsafe structures, we just ran rough numbers. 32 buildings have been deemed unsafe since 2016. That's as far back as I went on the letters. So there's probably more than that, but that's as far as I got before the meeting. Construction has occurred on 6 of those to stabilize them, and 3 have been demolished, and 2 outside of that have been approved to be demolished, but have not been demolished yet. Scott is working through 51 properties that were deemed possibly unsafe to see whether they are unsafe or not. And then 10 properties that were on that kind of watch list. 8 of those have received PACE grants and are under construction. 1 has already addressed the structural issues, and 1 has received approval from the historic board for demolition. So we're working through the unsafe properties and trying to clean those up around our community. The mayor mentioned earlier iWorks. We're in the process of converting all of our systems onto an online platform that's called iWorks. You approved the contract to go forward with that. We've given the data to their implementation team and have started training on that. We're planning to activate that program in January. We're already starting to use some of those elements in-house, but it'll give the community an opportunity to put in nuisance violations, let us know where they're at, but also track to see where they're at in the process.
Cole, thanks for this report. Shows a lot of progress and a lot of progress still to come.
Yes.
Adopting iWork, I think, is going to, again, just help us manage the process better and have a cloud-based platform rather than paper-driven like we are now. And as we saw earlier today, you know, we're taking our blight elimination strategy very seriously. The first step in the process is to have a plan on how we're going to deal with it, and then that plan can then translate down to working with property owners. I think it's great on the nuisance side, for example, to see that 58 of the 77 nuisances were abated by the owner. Yeah. And as we are working through unsafe structures, part of the investment we're continuing to make in that, the importance of that, is the hiring of additional code enforcement resources for 2022. So we are recruiting for code enforcement resources now, and then that will just help accelerate our progress on the unsafe structures and nuisances. So with the help of Building and Planning Department, Chief Wallace is here. I want to thank him too for MPD's participation because they have a role in that. We are, you know, just working toward a clean, safe, and beautiful Madison, and we have to have the spectrum of solutions, whether it be in incentives like we do with PACE, been very successful. And then now, there's also the code enforcement piece. And in the middle of all that is working with the public to form a partnership and an accountability where we are both accountable for abating nuisances and abating unsafe structures. And we're getting there. So good progress.
Nicole, I just have a couple of questions. The 15 nuisance that were abated by the city, we have a method to collect that, correct?
Yes, so when a property is cleaned up by the city, they receive a letter letting them know that it has been cleaned by the city. It includes the cost of that amount and they're given 20 days opportunity to pay just that amount, but it also lays out the process following that. If they don't pay that, then it goes as a lien against the property, and they pay not only our cost, but a fine, and then any recording fees that's required.
So it's added to the property tax?
Yes,
Okay.
yep. Most of the time, people come in and pay the costs that we incurred from the contractor, but if they don't, then it goes against as a lien.
Do you have any of those outstanding right now?
Yes, we have several liens outstanding.
And another question, I guess, when I was looking at going around looking at the PACE applications, the one on West, or the one on East Street, I know just below that at 112 and 114 East Street, there's 2 residences there. I know we dealt with them several years ago when I was on the board, and we just really never got anywhere with them. I'm sure you're aware of those 2 structures.
Yes, I believe one's just been sold on tax sale last year.
I mean, both of them look uninhabitable to me.
Yeah, so I know at least one of those is on that list that has been deemed unsafe, and I believe the other is on that list that Scott needs to go and review.
And I know one of them, I think, is an out-of-town owner, so.
Yes.
Do we have a process in place to talk to those people to try to get something moving?
Yeah, we're working with Joe in the attorney's office to clarify that process and really get it laid out. But yes, there's notification processes, and then eventually it will come to you if they don't take care of it.
This is really part of what we described a couple months ago when we rolled out our new Blight elimination policy and practice, which is to create that accountability for the city that it has to the community, and a reporting mechanism to come to the Board of Public Works so we can continue to amplify the progress we're making, but yet the things that we still need to do and invest in order to make a difference. And that's why we started with literally researching the entire community and coming up with what is our universe of properties that fall into our nuisance or unsafe. And then we went through a rating process with them to determine which ones were the highest priorities. That's what we're doing. And again, you're going to see a lot of action, particularly when we get our code enforcement resources here. And we go live with iWork. That's going to help us too, particularly in the future with regard to documentation.
I know that area of West Street, 100 block and 200 block of East Street, a lot of work's been done in that area. It's attractive, and then you got these 2 places side by side that, they just really
Stands out.
really stand out, just drags the whole neighborhood down, so.
And there's been a lot, like I said, there's been a lot of investment all over town.
Yeah.
So it's our job to prod along, if an incentive won't work, then you gotta take the code enforcement process seriously. And that's what we're doing.
I'm just familiar with those 2 because, I followed them for years, and, so the owners haven't attempted to make any progress or do anything, so. Thank you, Nicole.
Of course.
Thanks, Nicole.
And then I have an update for you on Crystal Beach. The contractor is working through shop drawings right now and ordering materials. They have been working on the demolition on the interior. We start our bi-weekly construction meetings tomorrow, so at the next meeting I can have a much better update for you. They're also working with our engineer to kind of replan the changes in the locker rooms, not necessarily the layout, but how the floor repairs is gonna go. Still to meet ADA accessibility, but save the city some money on that construction, which we're looking forward to. But happy to answer questions as I can for that project.
Yeah, I've been by there lately. The demolition that they've done on the property already looks like a tremendous improvement.
They have at least filled up one dumpster that I know
Yeah.
of.
Nicole, the elevator, I guess they're gonna build an elevator shaft.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know, is it gonna be built out of similar stone that?
They are working, they're trying to
Trying to
match,
match.
they're trying to match exactly the stone there, which is difficult since it came from the building that was there originally, but they're trying to match it as close as possible.
Okay.
Is that deck gonna have to be replaced on the south side there, that?
Yes, the entire deck and staircases are gonna come off and be replaced with more weather resistant material.
Is there anything wrong with, me just walking through, shall I let you know, or? should I-
Probably should, let somebody know it is an active construction site.
I don't wanna violate any of the rules.
Yeah, so,
What do
we've
I
turned the
see?
site over to them, so it would fall under their / the city's liability, so I wouldn't recommend going on the site since it is
Right.
active, but if you guys wanna go through, just let me know, I can help
Okay.
coordinate something. And that's all I have, unless you have more questions.
Nicole, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott,
Thank you.
as well. And, Chris, waiting for that perfect opportunity, Kathy. Sorry.
I thought you was gonna give you an answer.
I know.
Get out of here while I can.
Oh, she's up.
Thank you, Kathy.
Uh-huh.
Mindy, you want to give us an update on Main Street and our Oak Hill project?
I would love to. The good news is the summer-long Main Street maintenance project is done,
Alright.
and there is no bad news.
Done? I mean, done or done?
Done.
It's done.
Done.
It was done a while back, but now it's done.
The project that never ends.
They
Oh,
finished
man.
on Friday with all the striping on Hanover Hill and, the final arrows and some crosswalks that would stop bars that we had to do on Main Street, so that was all completed. And there was some crack sealing work they were still working on, and that was completed as well. So the good weather helped us out, and we were able to wrap that up. So,
Kenny Worcester survived, he gonna be okay?
he did. I talked to him this morning, and no, I don't think anybody's happier than it's done than Kenny. But
Any timeline on the installing the warning lights?
They're already in.
flashing lights?
they are
They're in?
in. The warning lights are in
How
for
about
the two
crosswalks?
crosswalks,
Yeah,
and the lights are functioning.
okay.
And I actually stood
I
down
missed
there
it.
a little bit over the weekend and watched it because we had so much pedestrian traffic this weekend, and I think people were paying attention. I actually saw 2 cars stop and let people cross the road, which I have never seen that before, so,
Well, it was so dangerous before, cause you had
yes,
so many different lanes of traffic.
right.
So, yeah,
Right,
it's-
so they are observing the notification that there's a crosswalk there, so that was good to see. And, Kenny has also pushed back the, speed limit signs, expanded that 30-mile-an-hour zone on the west end, so those have been pushed back now to closer to Dr. Kennedy's office, and the 30-mile-an-hour zone actually starts on the west side of the bridge. So the only piece he has left to do on that is to install rumble strips prior to that and let people know that they're coming up on a slower speed limit zone, so all good news there. And contractors have finished their punch list, so we're good to go.
Looks good.
Oak Hill update, I just wanted to, we talked a little bit at council the last meeting, but I don't think I had talked to this board about our, application for the community crossings matching grant for fall of 2021. And I think I've talked to you before about how we we ordered a sidewalk rating plan They literally walked through every sidewalk in town and gave us back a report on condition. We asked them to rate that similar to the PASER rating system that we do for roads every year. And we took both of those lists and overlaid them together on top of each other on a map of the city to find out where there was consistency in bad roads, bad sidewalks. And I gave each of you a copy of this, but I just wanted you to see how that data comes out when you do the overlay. You can see where the worst of everything is, and the most obvious spot was Oak Hill neighborhood. All of their roads and all of their sidewalks are rated poor and fair, so that is where we concentrated. There is another spot over around Highland, Hargett. That area has some issues that overlap as well, and I actually tried to include that in this application, but it made the cost more than we could afford to do. So I pulled that out. We're going to concentrate on doing an entire new neighborhood for the Oak Hill residents, working on some communication for them. It also gives us much better use of funds in that it's a 50-50 grant. So they can get all new sidewalks, curbs, gutter pans, driveway approaches, and all of that concrete work is 50 cents on the dollar because we're doing it through CCMG. So I think it's going to be a great project. I think it will be a huge improvement for that neighborhood and their property values. And we will continue every application that we can afford to apply for with match funds that we have available to concentrate our efforts in that way and get the biggest bang for our buck, so to speak, so that we can do sidewalks and streets at the same time. And I am working with Brian Jackson from the utility company to look at underground infrastructure and make sure that we have any planned work that needs to get done up there, that we can get that done in time before we start the project, and maybe plan some work out so that we can not have to cut into those brand new streets unless we have a water issue. So we're all working together on this one.
Yeah, I've talked to you before about Mauser Street, how that sidewalk, very nice sidewalk, both sides of the street, from Cragmont east, hits Ross Street, and there's no more sidewalk. And Mauser Street, of course, goes on to Michigan Road, there's no sidewalks north or south side.
Right.
Makes that neighborhood very dangerous to walk. And just, in the future, you could look into that. I think that they were let go back contracted because of the cost. To say, so well, you've done this part, so forget the rest of it. It is a lot of traffic on Mauser Street, a lot of walking traffic, and we could get that sidewalk all the way to Michigan Road, would be great.
Okay.
We have a lot of areas across the community where should have been sidewalks
Exactly.
from 50, 60 years ago when they platted it and subdivided it, and it's very expensive to come in and install those, but we need to put sidewalks where we have a lot of pedestrian traffic, like 8th Street up there.
Exactly.
Craig Mountain School that got kids off of the street walking to school, so we were continuing to look at not only our sidewalk management plan, which is about repairing and remediating sidewalks, but also putting new sidewalks in.
Yeah.
We look at everything very holistically when we look at these projects because we want to get the most use out of the funds. So Carl, I've got that on my list to take a look at, and if that area is included in an application, we'll make sure that we get the sidewalks in, and if we have extra funds that we can do some side projects, we'll look at that area as well. I know that the area I mentioned around Harlan and Highland, there's some water issues there as well, so that's an area that I intend to focus on the next time we apply, to see if we can also do some engineering in terms of stormwater drainage and fix that water issue so that when we come in and do sidewalks and streets, it makes a lot of sense and they'll be in better condition longer. So,
Mindy, you showed me some information the other day about the dollar amount we've invested in 2021, I believe, with regards to sidewalks and ADA accessibility for our ramps. And could you describe that for the board, please?
Sure. It was the total, and this was for work that we did in 2020 as well, fall of 2020 and all of 2021. It was, I believe, Mayor, over $825,000 that we've invested in just concrete. So, that's a big number, and part of that is through, community crossings, and part of that is just work we've done on our own. And, we're gonna continue to do that. I had, a little extra money in concrete left in the budget for this year, and we took a look at that sidewalk plan to see where's there an area we can spend some money, and, ended up doing quite a bit of work that's going on right now between Vaughn and Main Street on the east side of East Street that had badly rated sidewalks. So that work is going on right now. That was just a year-end project with extra funds that we thought we could put to good use and get some work done before the end of the year. So that helps us check some boxes between there and Oak Hill.
But don't gloss over that fact too fast, because what started out as looking at a sidewalk that was in disrepair near a residence turned out we're doing the entire stretch of sidewalk from Main Street to Vaughn Street on that east side. So that is what our strategy is, rather than house by house, it's block by block, because generally you don't just have one bad sidewalk in front of someone's house. And, you know, the methodology of you can afford to pay for the concrete, you kind of get bumped to the list. That's not really the best way to manage your sidewalk projects. That's why we invested in the asset management plan. So now we know we adopted a rating system for all of our sidewalks, and we can start working on a priority basis to target our worst rated sidewalks. So that's gonna show a lot of impact rather than, you know, a kind of a tapestry approach across the community.
And I wanted to clarify too on that stretch from Main to Vaughn. It's not, we didn't rip out the entire thing, stem to stern, and the curb and the gutter. There are some sidewalks in there that don't need to be replaced. There's a very nice brick, I think it's a herringbone pattern brick in front of one of the houses that's beautiful. So we're not taking that out. There's an aggregate sidewalk that has a crack in it, but other than that, it's structurally fine. So we're not removing that. We're doing the ones that need to be replaced. Some of the curb is fine to say, some of it needs to be replaced. So we're doing it, you know, it's not like a full, we're just gonna rip it out and do the whole thing. We're trying to be as logical about it as we can and use the funds as wisely as possible.
I know down on Southeast Street there in the area, David was talking about, you know, there's a lot of sidewalk damage there by a sycamore tree.
Yes.
And, or just makes your issues a lot larger, the sidewalk's about 6 or 8 inches higher than the rest.
That's a tough one because that
Yeah.
street has a lot, there's at least 2, maybe 3 large sycamores on that section, and it has really done a number on the sidewalks. So we've had Tim Perry down there to look at it and advise, you know, do they need to come out? Do the roots need to be trimmed? Can we just pour around it? What was the best solution? So we're trying to think of everything and do it the best we can.
Wouldn't think there'd be that many issues with the sidewalk, with there.
There
We
is,
do.
yes. That's all I have. Any questions for me?
Want to mention the federal highway grant application, or update next time?
Let's update next time.
Okay. Lots going on the streets and sidewalks all across our community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mindy.
Next up, we have claims.
Mayor had an opportunity to review the claims. We have 2 sets of claims today, so I'll make a motion that both sets of claims be approved as submitted.
I will second David's motion.
Any additional discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. All right, I just have a few updates to give well, let me first ask Brian, Tony, Chief Wallace, you're all here. Anything you want to update the board on? Chief, I may ask you to perhaps update the board on the pedestrian accident that was here Friday, if you don't mind.
Sure. Afternoon board, very unfortunate accident here at Main and West. A pedestrian was in the right of way going across the crosswalk on the east side of the intersection, Main and West, going northbound when a southbound motorist was turning east on the main, struck a pedestrian, unfortunately completely ran over her. However, remarkably, she has survived. We're very thankful for that. She's, last I heard, was in stable condition in Louisville, and I haven't heard any other further updates, so essentially no news is good news, and we're very thankful for that. Essentially, the driver statement was she just didn't see her. So we've followed a protocol with regards to toxicology reports and information. So waiting for that to come back. But accident was handled accordingly, and simply nothing appears to be at this time nothing more than that. You just didn't see her for what reason, I have no idea. Very thankful that she survived, and that's what we had. She's in stable conditions.
Any additional updates from NPD that you'd like to give us on, are all of our new hires out of the academy now?
Yeah, we're
working?
Yeah, actually, of course, the 3 that have been in field training are now out on their own doing a great job. We have Megan Claus will be graduating this Thursday from the Law Enforcement Academy. I'll be attending her graduation Thursday night. Be glad to get Megan back. I think she's going to be an outstanding addition to our department, and we are in the process to hire to replace, well, you can't replace him, but to fill a spot, Captain Dan Steffen, and then the 2 new additional hires that we'll have for 2022. So we're going through that process now, but having everybody back and becoming fully staffed, so it certainly makes a difference in a lot of the things that we can do, which will definitely include our traffic division. We'll definitely have that up and running by the first of the year. That'll be Jordan Perry and Cody Lewis. They'll be heading that up, and one of our main focuses will be on Main Street, eliminating any other truck issues, and our crosswalks. So we're monitoring to make sure that pedestrians are crossing or being able to cross safely without any traffic issues. So be a lot of different things. Of course, we've got hilltop locations as well that we'll need to monitor, but having these 2 officers in place and able to take care of those details will be a tremendous asset to both the city and the department as well. So we'll look forward to getting them in there. I've got a few other items as well that I'm going to have them work on. I look forward to getting those 2, which I think are going to be very good faces for our department. Spending a lot of time with the Boys and Girls Club, shedding some different light on our youth from a law enforcement standpoint, and hoping to build some relationships there. So we'll use them in different ways, festivals, events. They'll be deployed for all those. So not only will it be traffic, they're going to catch it all. So looking forward to getting those guys going.
Well, we've had two very busy weekends. What's your opinion of the traffic flow and the changes and people adapting well to them? Or?
They are. The West Main Street, that's just made a tremendous difference. It's really slowed and calmed things down. You don't have that potential for a racetrack there now that you have 1 lane. So I haven't seen any traffic backups. I haven't seen any traffic issues. I think we may have had a few minor complaints of some speeding on 2nd and 3rd Street. So we'll definitely address that. I haven't really noticed a lot of additional traffic on 2nd or 3rd Street. I don't know if you gentlemen have or not. I'm sure there's probably maybe a little bit more, but really no concerns there. And what I say by that, people avoiding Main to go down 2nd or 3rd. I really don't see it, but I think it's worked out very well. I really think it's made our West End and our downtown much safer.
The only time I came through town Friday and Saturday evening, and the only time I stopped Saturday evening was to allow someone to parallel park down there, and they were going to, well, of course, in your neighborhood, Mary, going to one of the homes that was on the turf.
And I'll tell you, parking in that area now and getting out of your vehicle is
It's a lot safer.
much more safer than what it was. You're constantly opening your car door in the lane of traffic, so it's made a remarkable difference. And I'm sure we're going to see that in our statistics, for years to come, with those traffic accidents and mishaps down there really fall by the wayside, going in the right direction. So
I like the improvements.
yes.
Chief, you had also a busy week or so with arrests. You want to talk a little bit about just the drug arrests that we've had? It's seemed a flurry of activity in the last couple of weeks, and
We have.
the success you've had in essentially making a lot of arrests.
The officers have just done an outstanding job as we continue to pick away at our drug issue, as every community has. But been maybe 6 or 8 arrests last week. We just had a couple of significant arrests over the weekend, which I'll be getting out friends in the media. One of them was a drug dealing charge, a significant amount of methamphetamine and cocaine seized, along with a gun. So not only the officers, obviously seized the narcotics, taking weapons off the street as well. So they're doing a great job at drug interdiction at the street level. And, just couldn't be more proud of the effort they're putting forward. I think it makes a significant difference in our community. One individual was from out of town, and I believe that the report will show that he was here to deal drugs in our community. So taking him off the streets before he was able to deal the drugs is just a big plus. So very pleased with that as we continue to work on other areas as well.
Chief, last thing I'll pepper you with here is traffic at Lydia and Middleton. Have we
Yes.
resolved that with a presence there, or has the behavior of the pickup schedule changed any?
Big thanks to the parents. Yeah, they adhered to those calls. I was down there last week and they monitored again, and yeah, they're doing a really nice job. We're not having that backup. We did have maybe one to get out there on us, and of course I explained to them why, and they understand, and they're working really well. Actually, they're able to pull up to the curbs and manage some areas of error, find some locations in there to park until they can get their little ones. So it's worked out very well, and it's all thanks to the cooperation of the school and the parents, which we appreciate. And they understand. They know that we can't block that off for safety reasons, and so they're working well with us on that. But we'll continue to monitor that off and on to make sure it's still working out well.
Good deal.
Yeah.
A lot of progress.
Very well, yes.
And thank you. So Chief Wallace was specifically in harm's way after the parade on Saturday with all of that traffic, directing traffic at the intersection of Broadway and Main to help get pedestrians to safety over there where the other part of the festival is going on, but also getting cars in and out of downtown. There was a lot of traffic.
I'll tell
So
you, the
good to
parade-
see you guys out there.
Thank you. Yeah, the parade was really tremendous, and the effort put forth into that was very nice. And big thanks goes out to our fire department and street department. Those guys really stepped up, helped us with securing the parade route, and without them, we wouldn't have had the near the success we did with the traffic. But so big thank you to the fire department and street department.
You guys were at the parade. You saw our officers on foot, also on bike in the cars, and we did a lot of safety planning so that we would not have an incident like what happened in Wisconsin, unfortunately, a few weeks ago.
Great weather, great crowd,
Yeah.
and outstanding event. So thanks to the city.
Chief, I had a question. You may not be able to answer publicly. I don't know the result of your investigation, but in the community in the last couple of months, we've had several overdose situations, and we've had some overdose deaths. Can you shed any light on that situation, what's going on, where it's coming from?
I'll probably lay low on a lot of that information. I can assure you that that's in the forefront of our minds and our investigations, and we certainly have prioritized that and take it very serious, as we should. Sometimes people often wonder, what takes so long, but we're working on it aggressively.
Chief, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jake.
Couple of things. I just want to mention that our Salvation Army memorandum of understanding with Salvation Army with regard to the winter warming schedule has been fully executed. So they will be implementing that per the terms of the agreement. I do want to mention too that the last couple of weeks we had some sidewalks closed, and we want to make sure the community knows there's a process that they can't just close a sidewalk and not make accommodations for pedestrian accessibility around the work area. The process is exactly as it would be if you want to close the street. Come to City Hall, there's an application. The application will get approved by Board of Public Works. Unless it's something minor, then the street department will go ahead and sign off on it. But we had a situation with a lift on a sidewalk for a couple of weeks that eventually had to be told to be moved. And we need good communication because it's all about safety. Insurance, work zone, access, all of those things. So if the community wasn't aware of that earlier, I want to certainly make them aware now that you can't just close our alleys and sidewalks and perform work for extended periods of time without approval from the city or through staff or through Board of Public Works and Safety. Last thing I'll mention is flood mitigation and risk management continues underway. We've been doing vegetation remediation on several culverts that were instrumental for drainage downtown, and eventually we'll be doing the vegetation remediation in that section of Crooked Creek that we approved. And then lastly, you remember earlier this spring we signed an agreement with Jefferson County to with regards to their waste management. And so far, since we signed that agreement with Jefferson County with regards to trash being processed through our transfer station, through the end of October, we have already processed 958 tons of trash as part of that contract. And it looks like we're averaging, around 150 tons a month. So I think that's been a good arrangement for both of us, and it's always good to collaborate with our county, other county colleagues, and the community across the county. That's all I have for today, and I'll open it up to any public comment or any questions y'all might have of me. Our next meeting is Monday, December 20th, 2021. It'll be the last meeting of the year, 11:30 a.m. Have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second that motion.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Good, how are you? Good. Miss Mindy does it all.
Mindy.
Street reports, runs the, Joseph.